afternoon, everybody, and welcome to T&K Coffee Corner. Today's coffee cup, my coffee is brought to you by the University of Valley Forge. And Krista's coffee cup,
brought to me by my daughter. It says, "Mom, no matter how hard life gets, at least you didn't have ugly children."
That's awesome. And we don't have any sponsors here, but I'm going to make a shameless plug anyway because we want to be well-rounded here. So we also want to, though we want to teach you biblical things and good things, we also want to share with you when we've got good coffee. Get this stuff right here. Laughing Man Coffee. They are not paying us to say this. We just love this coffee. And what better coffee company to go with than Hugh Jackman's coffee company? It tastes like Wolverine. It's awesome. No, it doesn't taste like a Wolverine, but it does taste good. So you can get that online. But if we're going to share all kinds of lovely things, we should share about when we find good coffee. Yeah, so that's good stuff. Laughing Man Coffee. All right, now that our commercial's done, back to our show. Today, thought we'd just take a few minutes and share with you. We had a question posed to us one time, and so we thought we'd kind of try to answer that briefly. It's a question that we could really do several segments on. There's a lot to it, but we're gonna just share, I guess, two top thoughts or so forth. Something to walk away with, that this video doesn't turn into a 5-hour episode. But the question that was posed to us one time was, how do you keep in love? How do you stay in love? That's how it was put. How do you stay in love? The question's kind of interesting because it supposes that at some point love just dissipates and goes away. Like when you're dating and it's all joy and fun and there's no responsibilities and everything, and there's just all these warm, fuzzy feelings going back and forth, and you can't stand to be away from each other, and somewhere along the line you get married and it phases out to the point where you can't stand being around each other. And that's not the way it's supposed to work. So I think that's kind of where the question comes from, because you see that so often, is that people are really in love and they get married, and then somewhere after marriage they're no longer in love, so to speak. I mean, they are, but the fire dies out, I guess is a good way to put it. The passion dies out, the joy of the relationship dies out. And it shouldn't be like that, but that's kind of what's expected almost, and where I think the question comes from. So how do you stay in love as a married couple? And the idea is, how do you have the same thing or better when you were dating? Because dating relationship shouldn't be the height of your love, right?
Right. I think, especially when you look at the world, most of that comes from the fact that they associate love with just a feeling. And so if I don't have that feeling for this person like I did yesterday or last week or last month or last year, I'm not in love anymore.
Right.
When love is, that feeling is only part of love. Love is an action. It takes work.
Yeah. That's the first thing you have to learn, is that love is not just warm, fuzzy feelings. Love works despite feelings sometimes. Real love, good, mature love. So love isn't just all, strolling through the park and, holding hands as we skip across the sandy shores, and those are wonderful things, but it's not just feeling.
It is not, but that should always be a part of it.
Right. Yeah.
Even almost 30 years into this, strolling across the sand is...
We don't skip much across the sand.
Not anymore.
Maybe if we had a couple more cups of coffee.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. Right. Those things don't need to be lost, but when you're growing in your relationship, things need to be added to it. And love is more than just all the good time feelings. Sometimes love, well, let me put it this way. When you make your marriage vows, the standard vows are to do with in sickness and in health, for richer, for poorer. But most of the time, we're just thinking in health and richer, not the struggle part. For better, for worse. We always think of better instead of, well, what about for worse? What if we're going through a tough time? There's all kinds of things that love has to take you through that is contrary to what you feel.
And every couple is going to have, I believe, a worse.
Yeah.
There are just going to be times when life is hard, because we are, still here on earth. We're, still living this mortal life, and times can just be hard. Life can be hard, and that is just life.
Yeah. And that's something, I mean, people might think, well, you don't know because you don't go through hard times. No, we just don't telegraph our hard times on Facebook like some people do. Yeah. Everybody goes through hard times and struggles, and it's for you to deal with, and maybe some close friends, but don't go blowing your stuff up all over social media and then act like you're the only one that goes through troubles. Everybody goes through troubles, and you have for better and you have for worse throughout your marriage. So what would you, just give me one thing that you would say, if somebody says to you, how do you stay in love? What would be your...
So I would say, when I say don't sweat the small stuff. So listen, your spouse is going to do things that frustrate or annoy you, and you're going to do things that frustrate and annoy your spouse, correct?
Yes.
Correct. Don't sweat the small things, just let it go is my philosophy. I mean, if something is said that, just strikes you a wrong way, you really have to think about it and just let it go. Okay, well, I don't think that it was said in such and such a way to really hurt me. Maybe I misunderstood, and it doesn't even always require a conversation. If I give any advice to anybody, it's just learn to let things go. They don't really matter. It's not a big deal. Everything does not require a discussion or an argument or, whatever. Just let it go. It doesn't, and when I say let it go, I really mean that. It doesn't mean put it to the back and remember it later.
Yeah.
It means let it go, move on. Like it never happened. You don't even realize it. You forget about it. It was just part of the day, because you must remember something. You do the same things to your spouse that you think your spouse does to you.
Yeah. I mean, we all have those days where we're off and we're just ornery, right? Yeah. Or we take things wrong. Sometimes your spouse actually hasn't done anything. It's you perceiving things. Now, there are things that need to be discussed, and we'll do a whole nother segment about, how to have a mature disagreement. But there are a lot of things we make mountains out of molehills, and just let it go. Because if it's something silly, if it's something just you're in a mood that day and you're taking things the wrong way, by the next day it's all going to be different. So just learn to
let it go.
Let it go. We apologize right now if you're starting to sing
let it go.
Let it go in your head.
We'll play it at the end for you.
Oh goodness, no. Just let that go.
Right. What would you say, dear?
What would I say? Well, I was going to talk about how marriage requires maintenance. Everything's easy when you're dating because you don't have all the stuff most of the time, the bills, kids, responsibilities, things like that.
Life.
So life comes in after marriage, and you've got to work around despite those things. Those things weren't there necessarily when you were dating. Everything was just easy, fun, go have a joyous time. Life comes in later and that crashes in, and so you need to take care of your marriage so that love stays vibrant. So that goes into a lot of areas about how to maintain that. It takes work where it was once easy. Now you have to be mindful of it because so many other things come in the way and can cause frustrations. But I think the one thing I want to hit on is be givers to one another. Now, when I say givers, that doesn't mean give to get. All right. So if we evaluate things a lot of times like, well, what's in it for me? And I will put into something as long as I'm going to get at least equal in return or better. That's not the way it can work in a marriage. If you haven't noticed, and despite what our culture says, men and women are different. Okay, we got different likes, we got different things that make us joyous, and even as people, we're different. I heard one person say at one time when I was younger, be a student of your spouse. In other words, study what they like instead of always doing the things that you like, thinking that's going to be something they like. Maybe that's not really what dings their bell or whatever. It's not what floats their boat. So learn what your spouse likes. Don't just like, for instance, Krista's not a big flowers person. If I got her flowers, she would understand the sentiment, but it wouldn't, it's really not her thing. So do I want to get her flowers just because that would be an easy thing to do, or do I want to do something that really makes her happy? Really shows that I not only appreciate and love her, but that I understand her. So when I say be givers, that means give to one another without thought of, am I going to get in return? Do the things that maybe aren't so exciting to you, or the things that you would really make you jump up and down, but it's going to be something your spouse loves. So if you're being a giver and your spouse is being a giver, and neither one of you are concerned about getting, you'll both get. Because you're pouring your energy into giving, and if your spouse is doing the same, then you're both getting, and you don't have to sit around going, oh, well, I always give and never get in return. And I hear that sometimes. It drives me nuts because we're often looking to get in return instead of just give without thought of return. And now it takes two, right? If there's only one spouse doing all the giving, that does create a problem. So this is a partnership, always a partnership. Anything to add to that?
I think in the giving aspect, when you were talking about different stuff, one of the things I thought of was, you were saying it, not always taking an interest in what you like.
Right.
Sorry, it's been a long week. Take an interest in what your spouse likes is important. Not everything he does is things that I enjoy, but I pretend to take an interest in them. I'm joking. I'm partially joking because there are some things where I am just really not interested in, but I will pay attention to what he is telling me because it's important to him. Okay, I don't hold on to that knowledge. Does that make sense? Like I'm still taking interest in what he's doing because I am listening to what he is saying to me. But then there are other things, like we have to find a common interest in things that we can do together. Maybe you don't enjoy doing the same things, but you have to take an interest in what your spouse does. You have to find, and even if you don't like it, to do it for them speaks volumes of love.
Right. And we both understand when we have those instances where we're telling the other one something that really isn't their thing.
For an example. I find great joy in a great bargain when I go shopping. And I feel the need when I come home to share every single sale and what I saved.
Yes.
And he graciously listens. He doesn't, hold on to that information.
No,
I don't think he really cares. except for the fact that I've saved money. But he sits and he pays attention to me while I need to talk about something that was important to me.
Right. And while I'm, in that example where I may not be going, oh, you saved that and you saved that, because sometimes I gotta look at Krista and say, is this a good price for stuff? I don't know what prices should be half the time. What I do take interest in is that it makes her happy, and she does the same thing for me. There are things that she's really not into, but it's not that she's patronizing me or I'm patronizing her. It's that I'm taking joy in giving my time because it's making them joyful. If she were to shut me down and be like, I don't care about that, I don't want to hear about, well, that'd be kind of like, this is my joy I want to share with you, even though I know it's not your cup of tea. Yeah. But we're drinking coffee here anyway.
Listen with intent and purpose. I mean, don't just the person, what I'm saying, really give them your full attention and pay, because that means something. If it would mean something to you, then it means something to them.
Right. And along with giving, it's not just things like that, but do that which needs to be done, but both of you hate. Right? Like if there's a certain chore around the house that you despise, chances are your spouse despises it too. So be gracious enough to do it for one another, to do that chore, even though you may hate it, especially if they're, that you really hate it, but you do it anyway. It's not that everybody has to have their assigned chores, but do it so your spouse doesn't have to sometimes. Granted, there's going to be certain things that one or the other is going to do the majority of. It's just going to fall into places like that. Like your wife may do certain things that just the responsibility she takes on for herself in the house, and you do the same thing, responsibilities, and it just kind of filters like that. But on occasion, do your spouse's thing, especially if you hate it.
Like an example in our house is dishes. I hate dishes.
We use paper plates a lot.
And to either come home from work or to wake up in the morning and find all the dishes done makes me so happy. It shows love because he knows how much I hate dishes. Because it's like laundry, never ending.
This is true. I can't do laundry. I'll ruin all her clothes. She's barred me from that. But if you're looking for, well, what do I get out of it? If you can't be joyous when it brightens your spouse's face and your spouse's day because you've done something, just that you made them happy, then you need to spend some time before the Lord, I think, because there's a heart issue there. Our encouragement to you is don't sweat the small things. My brother had a sign up in his room one time that said, "Don't sweat the petty things and don't pet the sweaty things."
That's disgusting.
Yes, it is. But don't sweat the small stuff, and be givers
and
to one another.
Yeah, and give because you love your spouse, because you want to make them happy, not to get anything in return. Yeah. Just to see joy and gratitude on their face,
Most definitely. And when you're both full of gratitude and happiness, it helps foster the love.
And when your spouse does something for you, don't take it for granted. Make sure you say thank you. Be appreciative.
Yeah, goodness. Yeah. My wife's always appreciative.
I am. Those dishes, I hate them. But I love him.
That's a good thing. See, it works.
It works.
There's so much more that could be said, but like I said, this would be a very long video. There's a lot of aspects. You just have to realize that if you want love to stay alive like you had when you had no responsibilities, when you move into the life together where you're both having responsibilities together as a married couple, you have to work to keep those things alive. It
Yeah.
doesn't, it's not as easy. You have to be conscious and intentional about doing things, and it will pay off. But if you're expecting to just sit on the couch and have it as easy as back in the dating world, well, you're not going to have that. And really, you haven't really learned much about love other than, it's a feeling.
Yeah,
and
I would
it's
say
so
you're-
much more than that. Mhm.
As you grow and mature, hopefully as an adult, your love should grow and mature the same. And if you're still back in that dating phase, you have not matured. So
Right.
think upon that.
Yes, indeed. So here's what it should look like. Married couples should have such a deep, mature, strong love that it shows dating couples they don't know what they're doing yet. Okay, it should not be the other way around where back in the dating time our love was passionate and strong. Our love as married couples should make dating couples go, we've got so much to learn. We are such novices at
I like
this.
that.
Because they are. That just came off the top
I
of my
like that.
head.
That was good.
Yeah, that was off the cuff. All right. Well, folks, thanks again for joining us. We enjoy doing these. I don't know if anybody else does, but we're having a good time,
Yeah.
so who cares? So until next time, we hope you enjoy some coffee together and go do something for each other. And
Grow your love.
grow your love. All right. God bless y'all. We'll see you next time for T&K Coffee Corner.